Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Theone from Thrifty Divas, a sleepy Theone from Thrifty Divas. You're gonna watch the sun come up with me in this video. It's very, very early, but this video is going to be the first installment of the new segment we're trying out to see how it goes, called Dear Theone, where people write in for anonymous input. So I'm not a licensed, psychotherapist or official counselor in that way, but part of my job and just part of who I am my whole life is pretty good at advice, or like I've said many times before, not sugarcoating anything. So you guys are all brave that wrote into me. Because you might not like the answers, but if you wrote in, you want an answer or some feedback, right? You might not have anybody else to ask. So this is what we're trying. So I have 4, which is really cool. So I have 4 things to cover in this video. And right now we are enjoying the lovely glow of the computer highlighting my face. Okay, so the first one I'm doing from memory. I had screenshotted it and pulled it off though, because it was written in the comments and I didn't want to put anybody on blast like that. The rest are through email, so they're completely hidden. But the first one, I'm going to paraphrase, but I think I remember it pretty well. So it said, Dear Theone, my son has a roommate who is self-centered and a slob. I believe it said slob. I don't know if it said snob or slob, but it sounds like both from the message. So it said that this person rarely helps out at all unless asked, and then will do minor things like take out the trash cans or bring in the trash cans. Stays on the internet making loud noise, till late at night. Has even scratched up the floor with the wheels of the computer chair. Was asked by the son to get a mat to protect the floor, but has not. And the person who wrote in said that she has kind of talked to her son about it, but he's very overprotective of this roommate for some reason. And the roommate also only pays $300, which includes internet and laundry. So her question was, should I just butt out? Okay. So there are a few factors that would kind of help me make my decision, right? The first would be your son's age, but I'm assuming if he's out on his own, he's old enough. The second thing would be, do you have any possessory interest or financial interest in this property? Like, do you own it? Do you pay for any of the rent? That would kind of be my deciding factor on that, of whether it would be cool for you to keep stating your opinion to your son. That's the way that I feel about it. If not, then it sounds like it's best to just watch it play out. And if this guy is as bad as he seems, although your son may be protective of him, it usually happens, unless your son's totally cool with it. But if not, usually things like that kind of self-implode. Your son will most likely get to the point where he's had enough. Especially, like you mentioned, the computer mat, like the mat for the floor that your son has asked him to put down so he doesn't ruin the floor. So even from your little tiny message, it already sounds like your son is caring about some of these things, and it's annoying him enough to say something about it. So if you keep compiling things like that and then they're not getting done, your son is going to eventually reach a limit too. Everybody has one. There's a huge range in people's limits. Some people's are huge and some people's are very tiny, but everybody has one, and it might end up just annoying the crap out of your son. So it sounds like it's something that your son is going to have to kind of deal with on a regular basis until he's had enough, or he's just tired of saying things, or he's tired of watching things get beaten up, or he's tired of doing everything or paying for most of the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like that usually only goes on for so long, unless it doesn't bother him, or unless they do have some special type of relationship. But again, I think, unfortunately, that if your son is an adult and you don't have any possessory or financial interest in the space, that unfortunately it probably will. Because the last thing you want is your son to get pissed off at you for being a good mom, right? Essentially. But you don't want him to get pissed off at you because he feels like you're nagging. And a lot of times children, no matter how old they are, they still have that like rebellious thing, and they like to go against what they know their parents feel, you know? So that's like another level to it. So I would just sit back and watch it all unfold and see what happens. Unless it's something really detrimental or damaging to your son, like really, you know, abusive or anything like that, that you feel like you need to speak up on, you know. But for the rest of that, I think unfortunately you just need to let your son kind of run his own road on this one. So that's my take on that, with knowing the very, very little that I know. So that is number one. All right, and then we are going to turn to the computer, guys. Are you ready? Let's see. Okay. This next one I can relate to. Okay, so it says, I am in the medical field. There was more before it, but I am in the medical field, Catholic, love art, music, animals, and helping others. I'm a Capricorn, so I tend to stress a lot about what I have to accomplish regarding my life goals and stuff. What advice can you give me, Theoni? Would really love to hear from you in your video. Hugs for little man and Henny. Have a blessed day. Okay. So let me first start off by saying we are, more often than not, our own worst enemy. We are our own worst critic. We are the worst it gets. We will self-sabotage ourselves at every single curve and turn. So sometimes, most of the time, we have to work on getting out of our own way. And things seem to fall into place there. I relate to this a lot because I've spent the majority of my life beating myself up for not crushing goals, for not doing things in the time frame that they should be done, or that in my brain I wanted them to be done, or said somehow they should be done. And that self-sabotaging behavior makes the goal that much harder for no reason. So, my advice to you is make big, huge lists of the big goals that you want to accomplish and crush, and keep those separately, and then have other lists kind of running every day of the small things that need to get done in order to accomplish them. Also timelines of what would you like to see happen in the next year? What do you want finished by the next year or 2 years or whatever that might be? And then small steps in between written like a chart of what it's going to take to get there. But you cannot beat yourself up. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to realize all of the work that you're doing towards any goal and not let it get wasted or actually set you back. Become okay with doing okay. Not crushing every single day or every single thing. And sometimes the truth of the matter is we may have goals for ourselves that the universe doesn't have. And then everything kind of happens from there. Like with me, if anybody knows my whole story, my mom wanted me to go to law school ever since I was a little girl. And I thought I was going to do what she wanted. And that was my plan all throughout my bachelor's and stuff. And then in my senior year of my bachelor's, I changed my mind. And then I went and got my master's in forensic science. I taught for all those years. 15 years, I thought more would come of it. It did. It did. I got my dream job in a bad location for me. And then I had to make more decisions and come back with my tail between my legs, and that was okay. Because that location was just not good for my mental health and overall well-being. And I had to give up the dream job to come back and kind of start over. Adjuncting again, broke, still. And that was the push that led me to go to law school. And I went to law school, and even that didn't happen the way that I thought it would happen. I was pregnant throughout law school, and then it turned out to be a bad pregnancy. And I was a gestational diabetic shooting insulin in the parking lot before class. And then I had to watch, so I had a scheduled C-section, because while I was in law school, I told everybody, my husband, my mom, I said, I can't deal with like how it's in the movies, like, oh, my water broke. Oh, no, sorry. Not while I was in law school. So I talked to my OB about it, and he was totally fine with it. And we scheduled an elective C-section. And then I was back to school and work 5 days after having my son. My son was still in the NICU for another 4 days. But I was off to school and work again with a 5-day-old C-section. And I was still convinced nothing will stop me. I'm going to graduate with all my friends in 3 years. I'm going to do it. Well, it didn't work out that way. And what ended up happening? Not the end of the world. For me, it was a little bit. I had to take a whole nother semester. So instead of the 3 years, it took me 3.5 years, because I had to slow it down a little bit. And then that was sad, because all the friends that I started with graduated without me, But we tend to have this image in our head of how it should be. And it's not always the way it should be. Expectations are premeditated resentments. Sing that as your little theme song throughout the day. Learn to roll with it, but always be okay with, as long as you're taking steps forward and not back. You're always only doing 2 of those things. You're doing something that's going to move you towards your goal or away at every minute of every day, no matter what it is. School, work, diet, exercise, anything. You're either moving toward it or away with every single breath and action that you take on a daily basis. But determination is required, but not beating yourself up. You just need to constantly work on that balance of you're doing fine. You know what I'm saying? Fine is okay. Fine is better than okay. And just keep working toward it. But do not, I know it's hard, but do not sabotage yourself. Roll with it. See which goals are meant to be. I also knew a friend that always used to say, like, her life ended up being very different than what she thought it should be in her head, right? And she was older. She, at like 35 or something, she was like, I should have been married by now. I should have had kids by now. I should always, right? And I looked at her and I said, according to who? That's what I told her. I said, you should have according to who? Whom? Right? And then she was stunned. And she's like, well, that's, how I just always thought it would be. I said, yeah, but it's not always the way that we thought it would be. She ended up getting married very late, 37 or so, 38. And I don't think, really, fireworks, it's like 6:30 in the morning. Happy day before Thanksgiving. So, and then she ended up not having kids. And now she's like too old. Now she's like 42, 40. She's probably not gonna. And she might even be getting divorced. I'm seeing some cryptic messages on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that might be over after a few years. It's not the way always that we think it should be or has to be. So be adaptable. So one more quote I'm going to throw in there. Darwin's famous, almost misquoted saying, survival of the fittest. It's not survival of the fittest. What Darwin said was that survival is dependent on our ability for adaptation, our ability to adapt to our ever-changing surroundings. And that is the fittest. So be prepared to roll with it. When things don't go the way you thought they should be, sit back and see, and maybe things are changing. Maybe something better is right around the corner. Maybe the universe doesn't want you to and is telling you something. But be okay with it not going the way you think it should be. But those goals that are super important to you, just as long as you're taking a step that way instead of back, you are fine. Love yourself. You are fine. We are people. We are not machines and we are not robots. And I know when I have my tantrums and I yell at people around me, that's usually what comes out of my mouth. I am not a machine. Okay? We need sleep. We need food. We need relaxation and meditation. We need to refocus, recenter, absorb positive energy. That's what we need. We're human. Hydration, the little things in life. So be kind to yourself and be okay with little setbacks. It's a setback. It's not an explosion. It's fine. Just learn to be okay. Okay? So that's what, and I went on a little long about that one just because I feel like that's something that really, really, really is personal to me. All right, let's move on to the next one, number 3. Okay. So this one says, Dear Theoni, I don't know how much you know about me, but I have never been shown such love and appreciation from anyone ever. I mean, besides family, and even some of my family, especially from my mom's side, have always crapped on me. I'm asking you as a friend, mother, and parent, have I done the right thing and refused to speak to any of them? Thank you so much, Theoni. Okay. I feel like I know a little bit of it, but I don't know every detail. But this is going to be on another deeper level that some people might not like. Okay, as is the fourth one in this segment. So some people have the philosophy that family is family, family is everything, family no matter what. My mother and I fight about that all the time. She'll always say some very simplistic, but they're family, Theoni. Not to sound cold-hearted or whatever, but I don't care. I don't care if they're family. The fact to me, okay, the fact that someone is family to me means that I'll always have love for them no matter what because they're family. I will be there if they need anything at all. And I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Okay. From my own experience, I have had friends of no blood relation that have been better family members to me than blood. Which is why when my mom is like, they're family, Theoni, they're blood. And so it's a tough balance. And depending on what has transpired with family members, even if it's parents, part of being okay in life is distancing yourself as much as necessary from toxic people, toxic situations, things that are just no good for you. I know that I've had to distance myself from toxic family. That's just no good. I keep them at a very far distance, you know. I'm always there for them, but I choose not to have them in. It's my bubble. Don't mess with my bubble, you know. I don't like it. Friends too. Sometimes we have to distance ourselves from people that we outgrow, right? Friends sometimes is a little easier than family, but sometimes not. So only you know what is truly best for you and your well-being and your emotional and spiritual and physical health. And if that is in fact cutting off family, what was your exact words? Have I done the right thing and refused to speak to any of them? Only you know that. Can you comfortably lay your head on your pillow and sleep at night? Does all sit well with your soul? If they were to drop dead tomorrow, would you feel okay in the course of events that has happened? So those are the things that you have to ask yourself, because when we say distancing or not or whatever for your emotional, physical, spiritual well-being, that's the whole picture, right? Are your spiritual bags packed? If you were to die tomorrow, if one of them were to die tomorrow, is all well? Is all well in your soul? So there's nothing wrong with it. If you have to distance yourself, then you do. And I have an issue with my father. If you guys know, my father moved back to Greece when I was like 6. We never really talked, like, at all in between them. And then if you remember, like last year or something, he had my cousin reach out to me. Oh, your father's not doing well. He has cancer. He wants to talk to you. I was like, what? Like, now? Why? So you can feel better? And that was like a really, you know, and I wrote him a little note. And I was like, because he was convinced I like hate him, like with a burning passion, that I walk around with this hatred and rage all day long for, 35 years. No. So I wrote him a note, trying to make him feel better in a way. I said, I have no animosity towards you. I don't hate you like you think I do. I'm sorry everything that happened to you. I'm sorry your sister that you trusted so much shit on you and had a big part of why you ended up losing your relationship with me, because she lied and stuff. I'm really sorry. That was really, really terrible. And that must have been horrible, because I know how close you were with her, etc., etc. But I have no hatred against you. And and it is what it is type of thing. So it was fine with me. That sits well with my spiritual soul. My mom, on the other hand, every time she sees me, are you going to call your father? You think you're ever going to go to Greece to visit your father? Are you going to say, I'm like, no. Like, what? Anyway, so again, it's whatever works well with you, but also know that it is completely okay to cut people out that are toxic to you, or spiritual vampires, or whatever it may be, just that are not good for you. That's okay, because we need to take care of ourselves. As long as it sits well with you, because you don't want to have any regrets or remorse at the end of the road. And again, only decisions that you can make, only answers that you know. So I'm going to leave you with that. We're going to leave that one. Okay. All right. And we're going to move on to the fourth and final one for this segment. And let's see what happens. Okay. So reading this one, I might stumble a little because I'm changing some things. So just bear with me. So this is from Tortured Aunt in Texas. Not mine. Not my aunt in Texas. Somebody else's tortured aunt in Texas. Okay. Dear Theoni. Okay. So this summer, my 19-year-old niece came out to me as transgender. She asked me not to tell anyone, and I was busting to talk about it, but kept my mouth shut. My sister is a very feminine, girly girl woman. So when my niece decided to finally tell my sister, the shit hit the fan. It turned my sister's world upside down. Of course, she was furious that I knew for a couple months and hadn't told her. By that time, she had come out to my parents and her father. Her mother was the last one. So my sister put my niece with some Christian-based counselor, hoping against hope. I've been checking in with my niece, but unfortunately, I've only seen her in person a couple of times. Once she said she was going to let everything settle down, she's been attending an out-of-state college, and of course with COVID, she's stuck at home. So my sister made me promise to tell her in the future if I knew something that my niece was doing that was permanent or harmful. I said, of course. I was trying to calm her down too, of course. I also need to explain that I'm the liberal in a conservative family. I'm the peace and love, so I'm all about helping my niece transition or whatever she needs. I just love, not judge. So, last weekend, I see my niece at my sister's house. I ask her what's going on, and she tells me nobody knows, but she has started hormones. Yikes, what do I do? My sister is gonna flip and kill me for knowing. I thought about telling my niece she could not tell that I knew, but really, she's got enough on her hands. We'll come back to that. One thing is that until I saw my niece, I had been asking my sister and my parents how she was doing, and they were all saying she hasn't brought it up, which is typical of my family. Just ignore and hope it goes away. My philosophy is, if you want to know, ask. So I did, and now I know. LOL. I love that. So what do I do? Do I break my niece's trust by telling? I'm a former nurse, and so I know it takes months and months for hormones to make any difference, at least physically. My niece told me when I tried to encourage her to tell that her plan is to just show up with no tits one day and say I'm a man. I'm thinking this isn't a good plan. Yeah, probably not. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. Also, let me say that I know the suicide rate among trans teens is high. I do not want to alienate my niece at all. Spot on. Spot on. I will say that right now. And I also told my sister when all this came out that I was going to love my niece through it. My sister could hardly handle it, however she thought. My sister could handle it however she thought, but I will be my niece's safe place to fall. Okay, I know this is a lot. I hope you had time to read it all, and if you did, thanks. Of course. Thank you, tortured aunt in Texas. Okay. The most important to me, many of you watching will not like this. It is what it is. It's my opinion, my input, right? Most important line in this entire email was the one that states, I know that the suicide rate among trans teens is high, and I do not want to alienate my niece at all. Ding, 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 ding. I think that you are 100% spot on. Will you be breaking your sister's trust? Yeah, a little bit. Will she get over it? Probably. Yeah. Will she get over a dead child? Probably not. See what I'm saying? Will she get over knowing? If God forbid she has a self-harmed or dead child that she could have handled things differently? Probably not. So, versus being mad at you for knowing and not telling, I think the scales tip in one most certain way. And there might be people listening that even disagree with that statement. But it is fact. It is absolute fact. I actually wrote like a 40-page paper on this when I was in law school, because I took like bioethics, and the question was about like therapies for transgender children and teens, and the argument of being medically necessary. But then if you make the argument of depression and suicide, it becomes medically necessary, in my opinion. And the rates of the children and teens who do not receive what they need is astronomical. So, I think you are just right on with everything. Like, really, your mindset to everything, your thought process, I completely agree with. And my take on it is that you are spot on. And I have a lot of experience with this in my own life. So, I think the most important thing is that your niece has a safe place to land. However, the one thing I don't agree with is that how you said you were tempted to tell your niece not to tell your sister, but you said she had enough on her plate already. No, I would have. 19? That's old enough to understand what's going on. I think it's totally fair if, if your niece is putting this information on you that you want to know, of course, but you also don't want to purposefully put you in a horrible spot with your sister. I think it's totally okay to tell your niece, listen, don't tell your mom that I know, please. Just don't tell her, whatever. If she finds out somehow, whatever, she finds out, but don't go ahead and tell her. Please. I think that's totally fine. I don't think that's putting your niece in a tough spot, because you're in a worse one. I know it's kind of apples and oranges. You're an adult, your niece is 19, but still, I think it's totally fair. And obviously, if your niece is telling you all this stuff, there's a good enough trust relationship there where I think that would be an okay request. I feel okay with that. If she adheres to it, cool. If not, whatever. At least you tried, I also think the showing up with no tits and saying I'm a man now is probably a horrible idea. And that made me laugh so hard. But yeah, that's probably a terrible, terrible idea. So hopefully something comes along in between there where it can be discussed or divulged differently. But the sad truth of the matter is that there are, hundreds of thousands of transgender children, teens, and adults who have been completely excommunicated and disowned by their parents. And that's the truth. And I think it's absolutely beautiful that your niece has you, and hopefully others, but at least you. So at least, we know that she doesn't have absolutely no one. So keep that line of communication open. Always let your niece know, no matter what, that you're there, no matter what, and that she can tell you absolutely anything, which would involve not telling your sister. Not telling your sister. Arguable. Permanent or harmful, right? Harmful, questionable. Permanent, highly questionable. So, hey, I'm a lawyer. I work around facts. Your sister told you to let me know if she's doing anything permanent or harmful. It's a very gray area. You're fine. Your niece is fine. So, who knows what your sister was referring to by that, or what in her brain is that. But you can't know that. You just know your brain. So you're fine. I would argue that in front of a judge any day. So I think you're spot on. I think not telling your sister in this situation is okay, because I think that your niece is the one who needs the love, support, and protection right now. And in hopes that you never said how her other parent was about it all. Hopefully that's a little something for her too. That would be great. But yeah. So that's my take on that. But I think you intuitively and instinctually know. You know what's right. You're good. I think you're good. I completely agree with everything. And I think, like I said in the beginning, I think having your sister mad at you versus the consequence, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I think keeping your niece's trust is way more important than your sister's right now. Just my opinion. A lot of y'all might not like it, but it's my opinion. And that's what my gut tells me, and that's what I would do. And that's what would let me sleep at night. And that's that gut check I have to do with myself and when I make decisions all the time. How does it feel in your gut? That belly barometer that they talk about. Does it feel right? Are you okay? Then it's probably right. You're fine. So that's what I have to say about that. Hope that was helpful in any way, shape, or form. Hope this was helpful in any way, shape, or form to the 4 people who wrote in and anybody who watched. So again, just my opinion, just my input. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with a lot of things. A lot of people will agree with a lot of things. Hey, I'm one person. That's what it is. So for this first premiere episode of Dear Theoni, hope it went pretty well. Always remember, you can write in at any time to thriftydivastheoni@gmail.com. And in the subject line, please put Dear Theoni so that I know what it is about. And I might not let you know that I got it, but I got it. And I saved them until I have enough to do a proper length video. This one was longer than I thought it would be. I just wanted to do like 15 minutes. But now at least I know how long it takes. So, yeah, so that is that. And until the next video, everybody, stay blessed, my friends. I love each and every one of you.